Welcome back to this episode of Under the Tamarisk Tree. I'm joined today by Drew Meyers and Aaron Ritsema of LaFleur Godfrey, a private wealth management firm with clients throughout the United States. So I want to start with some introductions. Drew, would you like to go first?
Yeah, well, thanks, Phil. We're glad to be here and appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. Before we get started, though, wanted to disclose that in settings like this, it's important to consider that the information we discuss is general information and not personalized investment, legal, or tax advice. So investing does involve the risk of loss, and we strongly recommend discussing individual circumstances with an advisor before making investment decisions.
Sure.
So with
We
that out of the
understand
way,
that.
we're very happy to be here. I'm Drew Myers. I'm the client development director for LaFleur and Godfrey Private Wealth Management. The firm's been around for 37 years. I just joined 2 years ago, and my role is really helping to continue to cultivate relationships with our clients, introduce new clients to the firm or prospects to the firm, and also coordinate connections with other advisors that we work with. A lot of what we do doesn't happen just within our firm. We coordinate with CPAs, attorneys, business advisors like yourself. So I also help maintain the connectivity within our community with other resources that would benefit our clients.
Yeah, thank you, Drew. And Drew and I met at the West Michigan Exit Planning Association meetings. And that's just a great group here in West Michigan, where we both reside and where we work from, where home base is anyway. We both have clients all over the place. But
Yeah.
no, it's just a testament to your involvement in the community and your engagement with, like you said, advisors and other folks who are involved in this exit planning world and wealth management world, which is becoming extremely top of mind, especially for business owners, as most business owners today are baby boomers and they're facing retirement. So this
Mhm.
becomes a real serious issue for a lot of people, and that's really what drew me to your firm. So yeah, thank you, Drew, for being here,
Yeah.
and Aaron, thank you for being here as well.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. My name is Aaron Ritsema. I joined LaFleur and Godfrey a little over 3 years ago. Been in the industry for over 20 years now, but came from a career at Charles Schwab before joining LaFleur and Godfrey a few years ago. I am now partner as of the beginning of last year and also a senior portfolio manager, a wealth advisor. So I work directly with clients, helping with the investment management, financial planning, and portfolio oversight directly with clients and maintaining those relationships and helping develop and grow those relationships as well.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on being named a partner. I know that's a big deal in any firm, and I love the fact that you guys were both willing to be on this podcast because we have the sales guy and we got the money man. So
Yeah.
Yep.
I know it's more complex than that, but in my simple brain, that's what we got going on here.
Yeah.
If we haven't met, my name's Phil Harwood. I'm the co-founder of Tamarisk Business Advisors, and I'm the host of this podcast. So I want to hear a little bit about the history of the company briefly. We don't want to take up our whole podcast talking about that, but I'm a hockey player, so every time I hear the name LaFleur, I can't help but think about the Hall of Fame NHL star Guy LaFleur, also known as the Flower, who won 5 Stanley Cups with the Montreal
Oh,
Canadiens and was the first player to score 50 goals and 100 points in 6 consecutive seasons. And I'm assuming he's not your founder.
I no, that'd be a really interesting story.
Although he probably has some money to invest.
Yeah. Yeah. Aaron, you want me to take this one?
Yeah, go ahead, Drew.
Yeah. So LaFleur is actually Jim LaFleur, and Godfrey was Rick Godfrey. They founded the firm back in the 80s and 87, really built on investment management expertise from their prior careers, and moved into the private wealth space. And then over the last 38 years or so, almost 40 years, the firm has really grown as a private wealth management firm. We now have 4 partners and soon to be 10 staff members. We have a new staff member joining us in a short period of time here. So that's exciting. We're growing. And we've grown to just about $1 billion in assets under management for clients, around about 320 households or so that we work with. we have done a couple acquisitions in the past few years, especially. And one of those acquisitions, Aaron, actually has roots back almost 100 years.
Wow.
Yep.
Is that correct? So,
Yeah,
um,
1929.
1929. So we have a long history of working with
Hmm.
individuals, families. Many of those families own businesses or have sold businesses or transitioned businesses, as well as a lot of individual folks as well, professionals and other folks that have accumulated wealth through other means other than business ownership too. But certainly a significant background working
Hmm.
with clients who own or have owned businesses in the past.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much. Aaron, why don't you take this one here? So I introduced the firm as a wealth management firm, and that's the wording that you guys use on your website as well. So when I think of that, I think of, oh, these are, billionaires who have all this money to invest and they're going to seek out a firm like yours. But what is a wealth management firm, and how does that distinguish you from some of the other financial advisory firms that are out there?
Yeah, I think wealth management really just boils down to helping clients and us, helping us understand someone's overall situation across their entire wealth spectrum. So, the earlier anyone can engage with a financial advisor of any sort, I think the better. But at the core of it for us, it's understanding their overall situation, what assets they have saved, what their income is that they're accumulating, understanding those goals and objectives out into the future that they're saving for or planning for, and developing a track or a plan that is right for them. Sometimes it's always very customized to them, but understanding that long-term plan, and then as a wealth manager, we're also managing their investments and using our investment strategy to position their portfolio that aligns with that long-term objective out into the future for them, their plan, their retirement plan. And that can range from very long-term planning to, just annually assessing what decisions they might need to make, sometimes even from a tax planning standpoint. So that wealth management covers investment management, financial planning, whether it's long term, oftentimes tax planning comes into it. The risk and insurance planning comes up in that conversation. A lot of different elements fall into that wealth management spectrum.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron, for that. So I would imagine it's going to take a fair amount of trust to be established for someone to disclose that information. But I can see such great value in having a comprehensive approach to this, kind of a holistic view of someone's financial picture with all the different elements you mentioned. But how do you build that trust to have someone kind of pull back the curtain and show you all their stuff?
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point. Trust is key in our industry, especially. And we have a core value of always placing our clients' interests ahead of our own. So I think, being upfront about that and being as transparent as we can in everything we do is as important as, that piece that we're asking clients to open up their, books to us to show us everything about them. So making sure that we're very transparent. Relationship has always been key for me.
Well, and Aaron, too, as a registered investment advisor, we're held to the fiduciary standard. So really operating under what's in the client's best interest. And um, Phil, one of the things I think that comes through is when we collaborate with other advisors. Aaron had mentioned providing tax planning.
Mhm.
But where we stop is tax advice.
Sure.
So for us to actually complete that kind of goal for our client, it involves close communication with the client's CPA oftentimes. Or for us to do our part in executing on a client's estate plan, we need to know what is in the estate documents and have a conversation oftentimes with the estate attorney who set that up, or with the corporate trustee that might be managing a trust. So
Mhm.
it's about building the trust directly with the client, but also with their circle of advisors. I think especially if a client owns a business and is transitioning a business, the trust is also built within the team as well as the individual relationship with LaFleur and Godfrey.
Yeah. Well, that whole philosophy really fits well with the philosophy of my firm and just the way I've always thought about working with my clients in a consulting scenario. And one of the things you mentioned was tax advice, not giving tax advice. And I think that's a really good example of an area where we really do need to pull in the expert with deep expertise in that area. That's a really tricky area, especially when you talk about partnership taxation. So from our perspective, I think we share that same philosophy of being comprehensive and holistic, but then also recognizing where we need to bring in experts with deep expertise. And again, that's why I'm inviting you into our community, because you bring expertise that we don't have and that we'll never have. And you're pointing out that even within that, there's other deep areas of knowledge that we need to pull in experts, such as tax advisors. So I think the overall concept of what we're doing here is really cool, because we're bringing together a good healthy approach to a business owner or someone who's retiring and they have this nest egg and they're trying to protect it and hold on to it, and they have children and they have grandchildren, maybe they have great grandchildren, they have employees. They're trying to preserve this wealth and do the right thing, but it's so complex and so overwhelming. Yeah. They need us.
Well, here's an example for you, Phil. Like if a client was coming to us or a prospect coming to us and saying, how do I figure out my plan post exit or post transition, but I don't know how much my business is worth. Like, I don't know what that value is going to be that I'm going to get once that business sells. We'll never be able to provide that advice on what is this business going to sell for and how do you sell it. Now, once we work with someone like yourself who maybe can provide a valuation and help that client understand what that process looks like, well, now we have numbers to work with. We can say, hey, here's what you have. Here's the wealth you've built outside your business. Here's what you could be expecting from the sale of a business. And now we can help build that plan. And obviously, the sooner we kind of start to have those conversations with the business owner and their other advisors, the more detail we can get and more planning we can do. But I think that's a key example of where a partnership has to exist between expertises that can advise the client on both sides of that. What does it look like, now, and what's it going to look like in the future? Yeah.
I want to shift gears a little bit here and talk about who your ideal client is, because I really want our listeners to understand how you might fit in with them, if they might be a good fit for you before they reach out to you, if they're interested in having a conversation with you guys. Your website mentions 5 distinct kind of categories of people that you work with: executives, business owners, professionals, retirees, and families. Those are very broad categories and probably encompasses 90% of all of society. But what else are you looking for to determine if someone's really a good fit for your firm?
I think you could boil that down into really 3 key areas. One would be, and let's think for the second for business owners, and for the purpose of your podcast, Phil, is business owners that are still owning and operating with maybe no immediate intention to sell or transition. They're going to be asking different questions than someone in different stages. So they're going to be asking, how do I maybe build wealth inside my business and outside of my business too, simultaneously. So that client, a lot of times wealth advisors talk in terms of minimum assets under management and those types of conversations. What we're really looking for is, can we help people get to where they want to go? So we certainly have a number of clients who have exited their business. They have accumulated pretty significant wealth, whether it's through a business or other profession or inheritance or whatever it means. What I think the most surprising things about this industry that I've learned in the past 2 years is there's very different paths that people have to accumulating wealth. So it's people who are still in the accumulating stage, but that will most likely be at a stage where they will be either transitioning a business or retiring from their employment with a fair amount of assets. And then helping that once that, the industry says liquidity event or retirement happens, then helping them move and let that be sustainable through their lifetime, but also for the legacy they hope to leave to their community and children. So all those folks on our website certainly encompasses that, but it's not exclusive to one group. It's people who are on all stages of that wealth accumulation journey.
Just going to add, we tend to attract, the clients that, when you relate them to a business owner, it's those that have an understanding of the business and want to know what they're owning and investing in. So we tend to attract clients that are interested in our investment philosophy, which is what we were founded on, of a high focus on research and investing in individual securities. So we tend to attract those folks that are interested in that, knowing and understanding why we own what we own. And some of them want to get into the weeds and understand it more than others, but I think it's that business owner mentality that tends to be drawn to our investment philosophy of exactly that, knowing what we own and why we own it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so one more comment on that too. An equal importance placed on investment management and financial planning.
Mm-hmm.
And really understanding that both are crucial to a client's success. And back to your early comment too, it's kind of it can be a morbid thing to think about, but when we look at financial plans, we say, what's the success of your plan? At some point, the plan will end, and that is when the person is no longer here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that that's important to consider too, is that financial plan. But we tend to attract clients, like Aaron said, that are really want both equally emphasized as important.
There's a lot of great information we've been talking about here, but some of this can get confusing. And so I'm going to ask you guys to very simply answer this question. What do you guys do for your clients?
Yeah, I think my response to that is I strive to educate and help the clients that I work with understand what it is they're needing to or wanting to accomplish,
Mm-hmm.
and how that aligns with where they're trying to go into the future. There's a plan, there's a roadmap that needs to align with what they're trying to accomplish, and there's a way to invest, a way to grow the savings, the investments, to help them reach those goals or to get to where they want to be, to live the way they want to live now or later in life. And so education,
Mm-hmm.
like I said before, transparency, but just being very clear and doing my best to helping clients understand what that looks like for them.
Drew, you want to take a swing?
Yeah, I'll give you a few examples.
Go ahead. Please do.
You talked about the ideal client. Let's talk about a younger client. A lot of times a younger client might come to us with a rollover IRA. They're still working. And what we're doing for them is, yes, we're investing their money and helping with that, but we're also putting a plan together. We're saying, if I want to live this lifestyle and I'm saving this much, making certain predictions, am I on track? And you meet with that client on a regular basis. And as they continue to accumulate wealth, they're not typically pulling money out of their portfolio at that point, especially if they're in their 30s or 40s or 50s. So it's building and monitoring that plan while also being stewards of their investments. Now think about maybe someone in transition, either from retiring from their business, selling the business, or retiring from their job. Well, now here's a more granular example, but building out buckets of liquidity for that client. So maybe we might say, hey, here's what you need short term. Let's say you're transitioning out of a business and you're no longer going to be pulling income off your business.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's lay out a plan for where that transition money is going to come from while balancing your long-term goals. So again, we're planning, but we're also, how are those investments going to, how are we going to position those investments for each of those stages in that time period? Or think about a family that is now long retired and their plan is well underway, and it's okay. Now, what can I do? What legacy can I give? Maybe it's through charitable giving or setting up a family foundation, or whatever your goals might be. It's again looking at that plan, but also managing the investments as part of that plan.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, was that all fair? What I just said there?
Yeah, it's great.
No, thank you so much. That really does help clarify some of this. And for our audience, we have a lot of business owners who are on here, and we're also, working with the next generation who's going to be taking over their parents' business or already has, and we're on the back end of the deal now, and we're supporting the kids as they go forward, the 30 somethings, and so those investment needs are very different, but I love hearing about how you guys are able to kind of take both of those, different types of people in different stages of life and help them with their goals.
And Phil, I would say too, that's a very important consideration. I'm sure you're seeing it too, is that balancing the goals and ambitions of each generation,
Mhm.
especially during that time of transition, and how important communication is, but also understanding that the when we look at managing, we're managing for our client, right? Like we have the client's best interest in mind. And there's often times where we are working with the children of a client, and
Mhm.
both the parent and the child is a client. And so really making sure we're acting in their best interest and understanding that. And I think that's another point where other advisors are so important, right? Like we're managing to that individual's best interest, but the family is going to need a lot of support as well. And we can be part of those conversations at times, or maybe in the room, but oftentimes those are decisions that are being made by a business advisor, by an estate attorney, or by some other influence in the client's life. But the core point is that it's important to recognize that different generations want and value different things, and to be aware of that as you work with multiple generations within a family.
Um, Aaron, let me come back to you. When you think about wealth creation, just more generally, do you have any advice for our listeners? Things they should be thinking about or mindful of?
Yeah, I think it's important to um, just get engaged early, start early, and
Mhm.
stay consistent, stay disciplined with building wealth. And I think even wealth can range from investing in stock market, public markets, private markets, real estate. That wealth growth can accumulate in a number of different ways. So I think it's important to have some interest or passion in what you're growing and what you're building. Um, but once that's been, maybe foundationally laid, staying disciplined and consistent no matter what
Mhm.
um, cycles are happening economically. Um, Try not to get bogged down by what's happening politically or economically, but just staying consistent and saving and accumulating and pursuing that wealth growth
I
plan.
think that's so important, start early. So yeah, good advice.
To that point, but it's never too late to start.
Right.
And if
Yeah.
you haven't had the chance to or opportunity to, that's what folks like LaFleur and Godfrey and to be fair, there's a lot of wonderful financial advisors in West Michigan, specifically
Hmm.
where we're
Sure.
at. But it's never too late to engage with someone who has expertise in that to build a plan,
Mhm.
and get on track now. So I would offer that too.
Well, so thank you for that advice. I think we have a few minutes here. I'd love to hear about your backgrounds. Like, I'm always interested in knowing, like, how do people get into the types of work that they do, and what kind of education is required, or training, or licensing, and like, what inspires you to do what you do? Aaron, do you want to start with this?
Yeah, I grew up having an interest in numbers, math, money, investing. I guess I initially got introduced to investing through my father in high school, during the dot-com bubble, so to speak, investing
Mm.
in options and technology stocks.
Wow.
So I think that was the first introduction to it for me. I ended up going to school, undergrad, for a finance and management degree. Um, Never really considered the investing services industry until pursuing an internship with a life insurance company, which introduced me to the planning and more solutions based um, sales, I guess, on a life
Mhm.
insurance company. But the focus was on helping clients from a planning standpoint.
Mhm.
Where's the need? Where's the gap? And how do we help fill that gap? And that just developed into enjoying the opportunity to help clients, and I think that's what continues to inspire me today. It's yes, it's helping, but I like I said before, I like the aspect of educating clients and having the opportunity to be that trusted person, that trusted advisor that they turn to for
Mhm.
help at any stage in their life.
What about you? How did you get into this?
Yeah, I spent prior to coming to LaFleur and Godfrey, I spent about 10 years in commercial banking on everything non-lending. So I worked for a couple community banks, one in Oklahoma where my wife and I lived for a while, and then back here back home in Michigan for 7 years. And, when I came to LaFleur and Godfrey, LaFleur and Godfrey was looking for a connector. I love connecting people. So my role is really to connect people in the community with our team, Aaron, or we have three other partners actually too, two of which are relationship managers, and other partners, our chief operating officer, as well as 5 other staff members as well. So I get to connect on a direct level, the prospect or client with our team, but also connect our clients with other people in the community, whether it be a business advisor, an attorney, a CPA. That's what I love to do. And I really enjoy, after having worked in B2B financial services for many years, which was very rewarding, and I was very fortunate to work for 2 wonderful organizations. It was a little bit different coming on this side, because now you're really intertwined with that client's success. Like your success is their success. It's a bit of a different relationship than a lot of other types of financial services, especially banking. Yeah, so that's what I've really enjoyed, is that very intimate relationship with a client's success and their family's success. And when I say success, I mean, are they able to live out their dreams and their hopes? Because that looks very different for everybody, and not having a preconceived notion of what success looks like. It's not saving and dying with a ton of money for some people.
Right.
For some people, it might be, and really understanding what drives them. And you get to learn so many cool things about people along the way. And just hearing their stories is meaningful.
Yeah, I feel the same with my consulting work, so I can totally relate to that. I always like to find out if anyone's involved in volunteer or charitable organizations when I meet them, and so I just want to give you guys an opportunity to talk about anything you're involved in, if there's something you want to kind of share with our listeners.
Yeah, for me right now, it's through Bethany Christian Services. Actually, my wife and I became licensed as foster care parents.
Oh, cool.
Throughout the year last year, and specifically in the short-term refugee and immigrant care for kids that are awaiting being reconnected with a family member.
Wow.
We haven't taken on any children for the 1 to 4 month average that short-term time would be, but we have assisted in the respite care space. So we've had a few kids come and stay with us at various times for a weekend or one day at a time, and takes a lot of effort. We really enjoy it and have a passion for helping those kids, and that's where we're at with that right now.
Wow, what a huge need, and what a blessing for those kids to have you and your wife be involved in that. Thank you for sharing that. Drew, what about you?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. Big on the community. I'm fortunate to serve on 2 local nonprofit boards. The ARC, Kent County, they serve our friends and neighbors with intellectual and developmental disabilities, both to helping them manage their financial matters, as well as with a lot of advocacy in the school systems for individual education plans. And then also DA Blodge at St. John. So on the foster care side there too, but working with youth in the foster care system and rehabilitation and other needs that they might have. So very thankful. For those not in West Michigan, listen to your podcast. I appreciate the opportunity to share. We have a wonderful nonprofit and philanthropic community here, which we're very fortunate to be a part of.
We do. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Drew. Is there anything else you want to share with our listeners before we wrap things up?
I would say, Phil, you and I have talked about this, but if you are transitioning a business or selling a business, even if you're retiring, to be honest, even if you're not a business owner, these things will still apply to you. Start thinking about what it looks like sooner than later. Talk to your trusted advisors, build these relationships. You talked about trust. It takes time to build that trust. And if you give yourself a runway to build that relationship with someone before your big event happens, the exit or the sale, it's just going to be so much easier, might not be the right word, but more prepared to go through that time of transition when you've been able to put the thought to it. So I appreciate the work that you're doing and other folks in the community are doing about helping. And like we talk about the West Michigan Exit Planning Association, like really putting thought to what that looks like to allow folks to retire or transition in the way that they want.
Aaron, last thoughts?
All good. Yeah. Thank you, Phil.
You're very welcome. Drew, how would someone get in touch with you?
You can check out our website, LaFleurGodfrey.com. There's a contact us form right there. I'll be glad to connect with you and see how we can help.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.